Hello everybody, NinjaNick333. We are back with another intermission round from this league challenge, I'll call it, where we have Chris again on the left versus Scott on the right. Scott is still playing that same Arceus, Duraludon, Vulpix, but Chris here, I think he switched to Lost Box this time. That's not what he was playing in the tournament. He was playing that Gardevoir deck that we saw him play in that last video that we had, but he's just trying to get more games on the channel here for me, which I appreciate. I had no idea that any of this was going on because I was playing my match. And I think this is the round where I hit the Dondozo and just blew it up. So, looks like they're deciding who goes first after they set up. But, I mean, it doesn't matter because this is not technically part of the league challenge, even though it's at the league challenge. You are supposed to flip a coin to see who goes first before you see your hand, because it could influence your decision on what Pokemon to start. The rules used to be different, actually. You used to be able to look at your hand first. There was even a card called First Ticket, where if you drew it in your opening hand, you would play it instead of flipping the coin, and it would allow you to go first, which was interesting. So Chris is going to get his Battle VIP Pass. He's going to start setting up with these Comfeys here. Immediately Lost Zoning a Drapion that he does not need. Using the Forest Seal Stone to grab a Colress's Experiment. I believe Scott did win the coin flip and go first and just pass. So for Chris, this is pretty good. If it's, yep, it is his second. It is the second turn of the game, so he is able to go ahead with this Colress's Experiment. So we will be able to Lost Zone 2 cards. And we might be able to get a good Cramorant hit on this Arceus, which will be enough to two-shot it. So we'll have to see an evolution from Scott here. But unfortunately for him, he will not be able to attack if he does evolve. So this puts him in a really bad spot where he might have to Trinity Charge with a Pokemon that already has 110 damage on it and just let it get two-shot by the Cramorant. So we do see a Fog Crystal here is going to grab another Comfey. We will likely see another Flower Selecting after this. They're not taking this game too seriously, so they're not cutting each other's deck. So Chris knows that he draws bad if his opponents don't cut his deck, so he just cuts his own after he shuffles. It's like a superstition I have as well, but I don't cut my own deck like that usually. So we do see the Cramorant hit. It's going to do 110. We do get the double turbo energy here. Now it's just a matter of can Scott get another basic Pokemon. Looks like he had the option between Research and Judge and chose to go with the Judge. While that feels a little bit risky, I do think that that is the correct call. You are going to have to draw pretty hot off these 4 cards, but you are also limiting Lost Box's options. In the meantime, they are going to be able to get 2 prize cards on this next turn, so you might as well try to get them to as low of a hand size as possible and maybe conserve some of those resources that you do have. Looks like we do have the V-Star and another Colress's Experiment, but unfortunately it looks like we're going to have to save that Arceus V-Star by Ultra Balling away the Colress's Experiment and the Sharon's Care. So this is kind of rough here. It would have been nice to be able to use a Sharon's Care to just go into a fresh Arceus V this turn, but of course he would have had to have that before he played the Judge. You can't play 2 supporters in the same turn. So we are going to be able to charge up a second Arceus V here, which is still not that bad. And, of course, Chris immediately plays Escape Rope. So, as long as we don't see another Escape Rope from Chris here, we might actually see another Cramorant hit just go onto the fresh Arceus V. And, yeah, this is kind of how I was drawing the entire tournament, is the way Scott is drawing right now. So, just putting that out. Just putting that out there. And yeah, and Scott still hadn't switched yet, so he still had to switch for that Escape Rope. So now Chris is going to put up a Cramorant. He's going to bench a second one. He's leaving the Pidgeot V in play, I think, because he knows that it can't get one-shot this turn, so he might as well keep it in play so that his draws are a lot more live than if he shuffled the Pidgeot and the Forest Seal Stone back into his deck. So we are going to see the Lost City bumps the stadium as well as the Arceus V-Star coming down. We are going to use the Starbirth. We are going to grab a Professor's Research. Doesn't even try to conceal what he's grabbing. He's also going to get the Alolan Vulpix V. So we are going to shuffle the deck and offer the cut just because we are playing the research before we use the Trinity Nova here. Otherwise, you might just want to save the shuffling for after the Trinity Nova. And Scott looks at his hand, and I think it's another pretty god-awful hand, if I do say so myself. Well, I guess it's not that bad. So he's going to Nest Ball here. So he will be able to have yet another Pokemon. I don't think you want to charge to the Arceus V here just because it has damage on it. So, and it looks like we are going to fail here. So we do not want the Duraludon. So we are just going to start charging up the Vulpix. We're going to get a water as well as another 2 energies that don't really matter onto it. And we are going to take our first single prize card. So Chris is going to be able to use Chorus's Experiment yet again. We're going to Lost Zone another 2 cards, one of which was a Battle VIP Pass. That's always an easy card to put in the Lost Zone if you're given the decision. Which is why I really miss Monkey Man Oranguru himself, because you would be able to stack that back on top of your deck and then Lost Zone it with Flower Selecting. Was always a fun combo to do. But unfortunately, that card has rotated out of the format. We are going to see the Sableye come down. I think we are at or close to 10 cards in the Lost Zone already. Oh, yep, and he forgot to put the Cramorant in there when it was knocked out under the Lost City, so he is putting that in there, because that does matter in this match. Not only does Chris have options such as Clara, but he also gets benefit from cards being in the Lost Zone anyway. So it's really important to make sure we have that set up correctly. So now that we know that the Pidgeot is a little bit more threatened, we might as well shuffle that back into the deck here now. Just because that active Arceus V-Star that is there does have 3 basic energies, and also, you know, a Choice Belt could come out of nowhere at any point as well onto it. So you could see maybe a Boss's Orders Choice Belt knock out the Pidgeot in one hit. So that's why Chris decided to put it back now. So we're going to Ultra Ball. We're getting rid of the Duraludon VMAX as well as an Arceus V in order to get the Alolan Vulpix evolution here. We may just retreat into that. Also, if we were just hit by a Cram, why are we at 60 HP damage? Did I miss something? So we are going to retreat here. I think that damage number is wrong. I think he's missing a 5 that's supposed to be on there. But either way, we do retreat into the Alolan Vulpix V-Star. And we take the knockout. So this is actually immune to the Cramorant since it does have an ability. The Vulpix stops damage from Pokemon that have abilities that are done to it. But, of course, Sableye does not have an ability and it does not do damage. It does damage counters instead. Oh, I think what happened was Scott put the 6 to say that it has 60 HP left. That's what he did. A lot of the players at these places like to do that. I'm not a big fan of it personally because it does confuse me. But it's still fine as long as both players know what's going on. Yeah, that would make sense because if it was hit by Cramorant 2 times, it would have 220 damage on it, which makes it have 60 remaining. So yeah, that is the remaining number. So we are going to see the Sableye here. And actually, we're just going to hit with Cramorant again, but Chris forgets about the Vulpix's attack effect. So he's just going to attack for nothing and effectively waste one of his own turns when he could have maybe attacked with Sableye. There should be 10 in the Lost Zone by now. So we are going to use Comfey's Flower Selecting. We already have one Clara in hand. We do have to remember to put that Cramorant in the Lost Zone as well because the Lost City. Would have been really great if on the last turn maybe we just had a Boss's Orders instead. We could have knocked out the Arceus V on the bench with the Cramorant. And that would have been the perfect way to do that. So Sableye can 2-shot the Vulpix. It does have 240 HP. If you stack all 12 damage counters on the Vulpix with Sableye twice in a row, you can knock it out that way. And now Chris is in a bit of a pickle here because like his cleanup attacker that he's getting close to at this point in the game is the Radiant Charizard. He knows he's one turn away from actually being able to use that, but the Vulpix is immune to Pokemon with abilities. So now Chris is just trying to find some sort of an out to the Vulpix. And out of nowhere, this went from a game that was extremely favored for Chris, where it looked like he was winning without contest. All of a sudden, it is now just a game where he can't win. And again, he attacks, and again forgets about the fact that he cannot attack with the ability. Or he can attack with the ability, it just does no damage. And Chris is just like, yeah, I have nothing. I just redrew into the Pidgeot and the Forest Seal Stone that I shuffled back in, and there's nothing I can do. So that was a game that was like 100% should have been won by Chris at the beginning, and then just all of a sudden out of nowhere, the Vulpix was established and then cleaned house. So, and that's just kind of how it goes sometimes. And yeah, that was it. As always, do not forget to comment, like, and subscribe, and all of that good stuff that is reminded there up above to feed that YouTube algorithm so that the channel can keep growing and all of that good stuff. And we will see you guys next time for an actual round of this tournament instead of just kind of like a playtesting game.